Okay. All right. Good afternoon. It's my honor to welcome everyone to LIU Post. It's an honor to have Governor Cuomo with us here today. Let's give a hand to the governor. Before I begin, we want to pause and recognize our host, Dr. Kimberly Klein, President of LIU. Doctor? We're all here today to learn from the governor about the state budget, the fourth budget in a row, I might add, that he has delivered on time, an historic precedent. The details of this budget have an impact not just here on Long Island, but across New York State, not just over the next 12 months, but for years to come. The last three budgets signed by Governor Cuomo have helped propel our state back into prosperity. Perhaps the most remarkable part of this budget is it includes real property tax relief for Long Islanders and all New Yorkers, and that's a good thing. The plan empowers county governments to convene local governments and work together with them to make our services more efficient for the taxpayers we serve. It also builds on the works that counties have already done, like Nassau County, with respect to sharing services and controlling spending. I was proud to support Governor Cuomo's tax cap in his first year. I was proud to support his property tax cut plan this year, and I know that working together, we will now be able to lower property taxes for Long Islanders, who for too long have been paying taxes that were simply too high. It's progress like this that shows you how far we have come in just 4 short years. The state government's working for the people like it has never done before. And that's because since taking office, Governor Cuomo has worked across party lines. He truly puts people before politics and letting the voice of the people drive the public conversation. For that, we thank you, Governor. And now it is my honor to introduce my colleague, Steve Malone, County Executive of Suffolk County. Steve?
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here with you at Long Island University. Particularly honored and privileged today to be here with Governor Andrew Cuomo. I've been proud to work with the governor, along with our state legislature, to do my part in the governor's effort over the last several years to build a new New York. The governor has spent a lot of time here on Long Island. He's invested in Long Island. He's had our back, and we are proud that he is our governor. That was never more true than in the aftermath of Superstorm Sandy, when the people of Long Island were in need, and Governor Cuomo and his administration responded with the speed, force, and compassion that was essential to our recovery. For many years, we couldn't expect that kind of response from New York State. Our state government, in many ways, was a model of dysfunction. And the notion that we could work directly with the governor of New York State on the challenges facing our region was simply inconceivable. Since Governor Cuomo took office, that has been a complete 180. The government is working, as evidenced by the tremendous accomplishments of the last 3 years. Lower taxes and more jobs, a huge deficit that has become a surplus, a leaner, more efficient government, a government that believes in fiscal responsibility and acts on those beliefs, and a government that invests smartly in its future. Under Governor Cuomo's leadership, we have made our cities and our towns, our counties and our region better, stronger, more cohesive, and more effective. The governor has helped New York reclaim its role as America's progressive beacon. And now we're going to take the next step into New York's future, which, as our state motto tells us, is ever upward. And now it is my honor and privilege to introduce State Senator Carl Marcellino.
Just checking the time. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. 4 years ago, we started on a different tack. I've been in Albany as your state senator. You are in the 5th Senate District, by the way, and Governor will validate your parking on the way out. It's okay. Ed Mangano and Steve Ballone do a heck of a job here on Long Island in 2 of the largest counties in the state, most populous counties in the state, but you can see who's well-rested and who's not. Ed just won his election. He seems to be, like me, putting on a little weight. Steve is running for re-election. He has lost a little weight, getting down. The governor and I are starting to exercise tomorrow. He's going to be running, and I'll be counting his steps. But for 4 years, we've had a leader in this state. 4 years of bringing the state back to fiscal sanity, getting away from tax and spend, to keeping the money where it belongs, in the population, in the citizens' pockets. They're the ones who know how to spend it. They're the ones who spend it best. They're the ones who will keep the economy going and growing. The governor understands that. Governor and I are of 2 different political persuasions. We, agree on some things, we disagree on other things. But one thing we agree upon, that the more we can empower our citizens, the more we can empower the people of this great state, the better off this great state will be, and the better off our future will be. You're going to meet Mary Fu shortly. She has just helped our population expand a little bit. We're trying to get a Republican and a Democrat. She's got twins. We're going to figure out which one is going to be which. So we balance the whole thing out, but in a bipartisan way, and this is what the governor has led us in. Doing things together, getting away from the political differences. You did not send me to Albany to fight with the Democrats. You didn't send me to get into philosophical discussions. You sent me to Albany to do a job, bring back a balanced budget, get as much money back to the state as we can, much money back to the region as we can, and keep us growing in a proper manner. The governor believes in that mandate. There are others we want to get rid of, but that's a mandate we want to keep. And that we work for you, and we work in a bipartisan way. We'll get to this silly season later when we have to do that. But in the meantime, we're here to do your job. So it's my pleasure to work with this man and to get it done because he believes in you. He believes in the power of the people, and that's a belief that we share. So it's my pleasure to have served with him. It's my pleasure to continue to serve with him, and hopefully after November, we'll both be continuing to serve in whatever capacity the people of this state would like. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce Mary Fu, who is a homeowner and the producer, well, part of the production team that has given us the two newest citizens in the 5th Senate District. God bless.
Thank you, Senator Marcellino. My name is Mary Fu, and I work here at LIU in the Development Department. It's my pleasure to be here with local officials and Governor. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me today to speak here. The biggest reason why I'm here is to thank the Governor and the legislator for making an agreement that will significantly lower property taxes, which directly affects me. In December, my husband and I, as you hear, welcomed twins, a boy and a girl, Benjamin and Isabella. Thank you. As a growing family with a future that depends on us, the size of the yearly tax bill matters a lot. I'm sure you can all agree that right now, approximately, I spend about $10,000 in property taxes alone, which means about 10% alone is going to property taxes. So just imagine with twins, diapers, and healthcare, how many payments I have to pay. It really makes a significant difference in my life by improving this, by enforcing this new bill, excuse me. And that's why I think delivering real property tax relief to homeowners like me is great news. The hundreds of dollars in savings, like I said, put towards school supplies and so forth, and daily expenses that we also take for granted will definitely alleviate a lot of my personal financial burden. It'll make a great difference for people who are like me, middle class and working class families, all over New York, not just Long Island. And this is really not a political stunt. I'm just a homeowner. It's not a Democratic or a Republican issue. This is a New York issue, and I'm proud to be a New Yorker, and I'm proud to be able to be here and support the governor's new plan. And I'm so excited to be here because supporting this budget that the governor has done has been the greatest thing for our state's future. So it's my pleasure now to announce the governor of the state of New York, Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very much. Good afternoon to everyone. Let's give a big round of applause to Mary Fu. Wasn't she great getting up here? And to the rest of the production team, her husband Ben. Pleasure to be with you, Ben. Thank you. And Mary has newborn twins, the political balanced family, Isabella and Benjamin. Let's give them a round of applause. It's a pleasure to be at LIU. Madam President, thank you very much for having us. Thank you for this intrusion and for hosting today. It's my pleasure to be back once again. Long Island does have two great county executives, and they have been earning their pay these past few years because they have had a busy couple of years. They're personal friends of mine both, and they really are among the exemplary public servants in the state of New York. And let's give them a round of applause. Ed Mangano and Steve Ballone. We have spent a lot of time together, the county executives and myself, battling Mother Nature over these past couple of years, whether it was Hurricane Sandy or snowstorms or rainstorms or ice storms. Mother Nature has a grudge with Long Island that we've been working through, but we think we're on the other side of it now. Senator Carl Marcellino, who is your representative, who is a great, great state senator, and is a statesman and is a leader. And you could hear it in his words and you could hear it in his voice. And he's done a great job for his district. He's been a great asset to me in the overall leadership of the state. Let's give him a round of applause, Senator Carl Marcellino. Today is very simple. We just finished the state budget, fourth state budget in a row, hence Grand Slam. For those of you who have not followed Albany carefully, I don't know that you can fully appreciate the impact of 4 in a row. It never happened in Albany. They never passed 4 budgets in a row. First time in 40 years, not since Governor Nelson Rockefeller and Perry Duryea actually was the speaker. Over 40 years ago was the last time they passed 4 budgets in a row. New York State government went through a bad spot, let's say, a bad few decades, where it became dysfunctional. 30 years, 23 of the 30 years, the state didn't pass a budget on time. And it was about 2 months late, 23 out of 30 years. Why was it hard to pass a budget? Well, the budget is where you see gridlock or functionality, both in state government, federal government too. Washington gridlocks at the budget. Why? Well, Willie Sutton was asked, why do you rob banks? That's where the money is, right? Why do you gridlock at the budget? Because that's where the money is, and that's where the important decisions are made. So that's where you see the gridlock. Washington can't pass a budget. Albany had gridlock before Washington had gridlock. And we had that New York version of it, so it was more intense and more personal. And it went on for a long time. The exact opposite is also true now. The government is working, as you heard from Senator Marcellino. And it's working even when it's difficult, and it's difficult when you have to sit down and you have to do a budget and actually put dollar items to priorities. That's where it gets hard. And that's where it normally stopped, and now is where you really see how operational it is. So not only did we get a budget done, But it is a good, and it is a smart, and it is a balanced budget. It passed overwhelmingly in both houses. And in some ways, it's the culmination of what we've done for the past 4 years. It starts with real fiscal discipline, which was the main problem that this state had. The main problem that this state had, in my opinion, was taxes were too high, Long Island was unaffordable, New York State was unaffordable, we kept raising taxes, and people are smart, and businesses are smart, and they're more mobile, and they were leaving. And they said, I just can't afford to be here. Not that I don't love New York, I don't love Long Island, I just can't afford it anymore. And we were literally losing people, losing businesses. And you have to get those taxes under control, and you have to change that trajectory, or you're not going to have an economic future. Why are taxes so high? Because we spend a lot of money. It's not a complicated formula, right? And this state spent more money over the past 50 years than the people in the state earned. Think about that. The state spent more money than the people in the state were earning. That defies common sense economics. I have a teenage daughter, Mariah. I have 3 teenage daughters, by the way. Don't get me started on teenage daughters. But we're learning economics. You can only spend what you make. The outflow has to equal the inflow, right? There has to be it's a conduit, the spending concept. We're having trouble with this concept with my daughter Mariah. The New York State also had trouble with this concept for a very long time. So we had to get spending under control. The state will have spent less over the past 4 years than it had in the preceding 50 years. This is the lowest level of spending in modern political history. We're under 2% every year for the past 4 years. When you spend less money, you have more money to invest and to cut taxes. And we have been cutting taxes. And we have been cutting taxes every year. We brought the personal income tax for people up to $300,000. It's the lowest level in 60 years, the personal income tax rate. In this budget, we just cut the corporate income tax. It was 7.1. We brought it down to 6.5. That's the lowest level since 1968, the corporate tax. And we brought the manufacturer's tax down to 0. It hasn't been 0 since 1917. So we're getting taxes under control. We're reversing the trajectory of taxes. That's bringing back more businesses, which then actually generates more revenue. That's the first point of the budget. It also invests in our priorities. It invests in education. Education spending goes up more than 5%. Why? Because we believe in our children, and we believe in education, and we want to put our money where our mouth is, and if you believe children are the future and you believe education is the future, then invest in the future. We have a $2 billion initiative for technology in our schools. Why? Because more and more education is about technology and having the right equipment and the right software and the right applications. So we're going to invest in technology in schools. We protected the charter school movement, which is a very important movement in the state of New York. We stopped the premature testing on what's called the Common Core curriculum. They're putting Common Core curriculum into our public school system. 45 states in the country have adopted Common Core curriculum as the future of education. But our students aren't ready to be tested on it because it just started to be rolled out, and the premature testing actually caused anxiety and stress in students, so we are actually going to stop the counting of the scores from the testing in the Common Core curriculum. So the budget does a lot of good work, and it moves the state forward. And that's probably what's most important. All those years where we had paralysis and we had gridlock, those were bad years for the state because it allowed the other states to move past us. And they did. The worst thing you can do is to do nothing. Because when you're doing nothing, your competitors are doing something and they're going past you. And they did for many, many years. And the difference over these past 4 years, when it says 4 budgets in a row, it means 4 years where this state worked together to make progress. And I want to salute my colleagues. We have the Senate and we have the Assembly. We are Democrats, we are Republicans. But as you heard from Senator Marcellino, we took a different track. And we said 4 years ago, we have to stop the madness and the dysfunction and the politics and the gridlock where everyone got up and gave a great political speech and they pointed fingers and they pounded their political chest and they got nothing done. And the Democrats got up and they yelled at the Republicans, and the Republicans got up and they yelled at the Democrats, and everybody felt good they yelled, and they were exhausted from the yelling, but they felt good and they were proud that they yelled at the other side, and then they went out together and they talked about how they yelled at the other side. And you know who paid the price for their yelling and their politics and their pounding the chest? The people of the state of New York, because nothing happened. And spending went up, and taxes went up, and people left, and businesses left, and the other states were progressing, and the state of New York stayed where it is. That ended 4 years ago. And in 4 years, we have made phenomenal progress. Phenomenal progress. We started 4 years ago. This state had a $10 billion deficit. 4 years later, we have a $2 billion surplus. We started 4 years ago. We had 852,000 unemployed New Yorkers, the highest number since the Great Depression. 4 years later, this state has more private sector jobs than it has ever had in its history. That's what we have in the state of New York. So we are getting the